Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to summer. It's 5 o'clock on Tuesday, June 4th, 2024. I'd like to call to order St. Croix County Board of Supervisors. And we do not have anyone today to lead us in our invocation, so if you please stand and join me in a moment of silence. And we're ready for roll call. All right, all present and accounted for. Let's move right on to public comment. And we're going to welcome Steve Schaller first. Steve, who I believe brought some treats for us today.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Steve Schaller, and I dairy farm with my family down in Pleasant Valley Township. And so on behalf of all the dairy farmers in the county, I'd like to wish you a happy June Dairy Month. And so we brought some, well, thank you. We brought some cheese to share. Some of it is from Katie Cheese, just over on 128. Some is from our cooperative that we are members of, but I hope you take and enjoy. Wisconsin is still the #1 cheese producer in the country at over 3.5 billion pounds a year. It's unbelievable. And a fact that I didn't know is that 90% of that cheese is exported out of the state. So while we lead the country, I don't know if we lead the country, but our per capita consumption is good, but we still send 90% of it out and are able to, bring local dollars back to our local economy. So please enjoy some cheese from us. Farmers have always been caretakers of the land, and we're always working to get better and improve as we go. One sheet that we set at your desk was the update from the Western Wisconsin Conservation Council. That's a group that we're members of, and they've seen a lot of growth over the last several years, and the programs and impact it's able to have is really substantial. I know back from the water quality days, Chairman, I know you've expressed your support of nutrient management planning, and that's one of the things that this group does is help farmers with that process to really get down to the details of planning your NP and K and how to best take care of the soil. And so through that nutrient management program, there's over 32,000 acres under nutrient management planning, largely in our county. It goes beyond our county a little bit, but within our county, and that's a big deal. What I want to share with you is really encourage everybody to get out and explore our agriculture community. You get to this half of the county, it gets more urban, but you get into the countryside, I think our county has the best of both worlds. It's a fantastic place. You're going to hear from the fair royalty later on, so I'm going to let them cover the county fair, but I encourage you to come out and enjoy that. And the other date I can share with you is the annual Farm City Day. That's every August. This year it is August 10th from 10 to 2, and it is at New View Acres. That's the Newman family up in New Richmond. We were there, a number of years ago. I had a fantastic day, wonderful family. So a great opportunity to get on the farm, get a hay ride, get a farm tour, treats, lunch, great family event, so I hope to see you then. So thank you guys for all you do to support agriculture and dairy in our county, and happy June Dairy Month.
Thank you, Steve. And I'd encourage everyone not to feel shy about hopping up and grabbing some crackers and cheese during the meeting. So, good. No. Okay, public comment. Anyone else like to make a comment for the board? Any more public comment? Yes, sir.
I'll pass this down. It's my first time here. Is it all right if I start again to read that? Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, my name's Brady Penfield. I'm running for state assembly in the 28th Assembly District, which includes most of St. Croix County. I'm a Republican candidate, so I'm just here today so I can get a better idea of, I can get better informed about the issues facing St. Croix County. I'll be sticking around for the whole meeting. I'll be here afterwards, so if any of the supervisors or any of the citizens behind me would like to speak to me about my platform, my background, or any concerns that they've experienced, I'd be more than willing to talk. So my name is Brady Penfield, so thank you.
Thank you. Other public comment? Any other public comment? Public comment. Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to our consent agenda. Do we have a motion for the consent agenda? Motion to approve the consent agenda by Supervisor Burning and second by Supervisor Osnes. And I will ready to vote on that motion to approve. Yep. Yeah, let's hold off, please. Thank you. Okay, consent agenda, we still have one. Supervisor Barkle, there we go. Okay, that's approved unanimously. Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to the presentation by St. Croix County Fair Board report.
Well, good evening, Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen of the board and guests. My name is Gail Meyer, and as president of the St. Croix County Fair Association, I'm pleased to be here this evening to share a little bit about the St. Croix County Fair. However, before I do that, I would like to introduce to you our current fairest of the fair, Amalia Draxler, who will say a couple words before I give my report.
Good evening, everyone. It's been a pleasure to meet many of you so far. My name is Amalia Draxler, and I am the current St. Croix County Fairest of the Fair. This position serves as a representative for the county fair. This includes many responsibilities, whether it be welcoming fairgoers, announcing events under our court, or to represent the fair throughout promoting it with brochures, on Facebook, and in parades. This year, I competed in January at the Wisconsin Association of Fairs Convention for the title of State Fairest of the Fairs. I received second runner-up in this position. Though I will be giving up my crown this July at the fair, this has been a wonderful year of learning, and I would like you to learn a little bit as well. All across the state, 72 county fairs play a vital role for the economy, society, and heritage of rural communities. As agriculture is the backbone of our economic system, the county fair is the backbone of promoting the agricultural experience in our community. The fair offers visitors the opportunity to see, hear, touch, smell, and taste the richness and variety of what our county has to offer through teaching and learning experiences that are enjoyable for all ages. From Legos to livestock, the fair offers something for everyone. I would be delighted to see you all at our county fair on July 17th through 21st. We have a lot of informational brochures for anybody over on that table over there. Again, thank you for your support, and I hope to see you all in July.
Thank you, Amalia. That was very nice. Getting back to the fair, hopefully you all received a copy of the official annual report that I submitted. It had a visual recap of some fair highlights over the years, in addition to more details about our goals, budget requests, and continued improvements for the fair. I'll be happy to take any questions after my talk, if you have any. Some highlights since I've last been here. So much has happened at the fairgrounds in the last several years. In case you have not been to the St. Croix County Fair in a while, there have been many updates and additions that are new to you. Thanks to our long-range planning committee, started in about 2008, the Renovations for Generations project has been an ongoing effort to enhance the fair opportunity. Believe it or not, approximately $1.5 million has been funded by generous donors to accomplish such things as our Tiffany Creek Special Events Area, 2 dairy barns, horse barn, electronic billboard, our Tiffany Creek Pavilion, our livestock scale house, a multi-species livestock barn, as well as renovations to the exterior of our poultry barn, open class building, and 4-H food stand that's used during the fair. Our most recent project, I don't know if you've seen it in the paper or not, has been the completion of our Tiffany Creek shelter. This is a 24 by 59 foot facility that will consist of ADA compliant bathrooms and showers and will serve as a haven now for fairgoers during storms or stormy weather. The building will also have a concession area that can be utilized by both the fair and the rodeo. This has truly been a collaborative effort by the St. Croix County Fair, St. Croix Valley PRC Rodeo, and the Friends of the St. Croix County Fairgrounds. However, none of this would have happened over the last 15 years without the foresight and vision of Dick Selwold, who was president of the fair for over 20 years until his retirement in 2012. It's with great sadness that I need to share with you, in case you did not know, that Dick passed away on February 14th of this year. He will be greatly missed. Now, back to the fair. Our theme for 2024 is All Roads Lead to the Fair. Any which way you go across St. Croix County, you'll be able to reach 210 Fairgrounds Road in Glenwood City. In case you did not know, the fair is a free fair. We do not charge admission. There's only a few fairs in the state that can say that. There's no charge to see the exhibit buildings, the barns, show arenas, free court, Croix Court, and pavilion entertainment. You may wonder about exhibits. Exhibits this year now are down a little bit from last year. However, we still have 540 youth exhibitors, 4-H FFA, open class, senior citizens, and school exhibits that are going to bring about 8,535 entries to the fair. Now, it's interesting to note that while animals and agriculture are a huge part of the fair, youth entered cultural arts and photography and have signed up to bring 1,399 of those exhibits. In open class, individuals are going to bring 866 exhibits in flowers and houseplants and cultural arts. As you can tell, the fair is not just about cattle and crops. Visitors. The weather was very challenging last year. Interestingly enough, though, Mother Nature gave us so many challenges, but overall attendance figures were about close to normal. Since we don't have a gate fee, we estimate that there's about 20,000 visitors that come to the fair during the run. There's a good showing for the St. Croix County Employee Picnic every year, which is held on Thursday evening, and it was great to see so many of you also during the fair. Over the 5 days of the fair, hundreds of visitors enjoyed seeing exhibits, watching the entertainment, and of course the fabulous fair food. So just a few updates briefly. As I mentioned in my annual report, we can be proud that the multi-species livestock barn is now finished with a great sound system and a new wash rack. The horse barn is finished, and we also have a new cattle wash rack. We've done electrical upgrades to several new buildings, including the beef barn, baby changing stations in the restrooms, and just some added fun contests that we do. We've got a diaper dash, a medallion hunt, and this year we're going to have gravity basketball and the Wisconsin Cream of the Crop Cheesecake Challenge. Say that 5 times. Do I have any volunteers who'd like to judge that? Just let me know. So things are improving all the time at the fairgrounds, but there's always more that we can do. So some of the goals that we have in mind, we'd like to implement broadband service on the fairgrounds. But I'd like to point out that today I did have broadband installed in the office. So I have new internet. Next week I'm getting a new phone. So that's good to know. But the Wi-Fi is not reliable, and we need to figure out how to get that connectivity better. We need to purchase a triple mower for mowing the grounds, and I'd like to resurface the bathrooms, the old bathrooms, the floors. And if there's some way that we can eventually develop a communication link for the entire fairgrounds, that would be awesome. Planning the fair, as you may know, is a year-round task, even though many people don't know this. Primarily a volunteer organization without a working office or staff, hundreds of hours are spent taking care of business. But what may also you don't know is that we don't do it alone. There's so many people who contribute in so many ways to the great success of the community event. Most importantly, a sincere thanks go out to our county board supervisor representatives, Bob Swanepoel and Greg Telejohn, who recently retired, who they take our monthly meetings to heart and have been genuine assets to our board. A special thanks goes to Greg for your years of service with us, and we welcome Lisa Lynn now into our fair family. Thank you so much for your support. It greatly appreciates. We appreciate it as it validates the significance and the impact of the agricultural industry in St. Croix County. In closing, I strongly encourage each and every one of you to attend the St. Croix County Fair and see for yourself how the tradition of agriculture is very much alive in St. Croix County. In fact, I mentioned that new building that we have. I invite you all to attend a dedication of our newest facility, where we will have a first flush ceremony on Thursday, July 18th at 6 p.m. All roads lead to the county fair, July 17th through the 21st, and I hope to see all of you there.
Thank you, Gail. First flush, that's very clever.
Yeah, any questions?
Yeah, does anybody have any questions for Gail? Well, thank you so much for your presentation, Gail, and thank you, Amalia, for joining us today.
Yes. I also have some posters that Mr. Witt has generously said will be put up around the courthouse. So thank you very much.
Wonderful. And I would also encourage everyone to join the fair and make that trip this July. It's worth it. We're going to turn it over to County Administrator for the financial report.
Thank you, Chair Long. The financial report is in your packet. It represents the first third of the year through April. Nothing terribly exciting. Everything we do is fairly routine, and the numbers are reflecting that. What I would point out is on page 86 of the packet, where we share with you the vehicle registration. You can see that the February registrations received in April reflect the first increase in the vehicle registration fee. So that's about the most of excitement that I have out of the financial report. But But if you do have any other questions on the financial report, I'd be happy to answer them.
So the sales tax in February was a lot lower than usual, but you want to tell us, like, I asked you this ahead of the meeting, but you probably have an answer for that.
Yeah, so February's sales tax received in April was $581,000. If you look back, and there's 3+ years of data there, that's the lowest month we've had out of any month in several years. So, normally that would be a cause for concern. Sales tax is very reflective of recessions and how the economy is doing. So that's a good gauge for us to watch. I have received, though, Marches in the month of May, and that was back up to 1.2 million for the month. So it was more of an anomaly than maybe a trend. But we'll continue to watch that for any other trends that may develop.
Any other questions?
Chair Long?
Yeah, Supervisor
I had a
Reese.
question. I'm trying to find it here. I think it had to do with under administrative expenses. In total, we're at 50% of budget. So we're ahead of our expense line there. Am I interpreting that correctly? Okay, so now I'm looking at page 84 at the top. Whereas most of the rest are kind of in line with what a calendar quarter would look like, or
Yep. The large one in there is a debt service. So the principal payments, we don't pay them monthly, we pay them annually. And so the principal payments have all been paid. So most of the debt service is already paid for the year, and that's skewing that statistic and that percentage.
okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions? All right, we're going to move on to our business items. The first being a resolution establishing the 2025 budget priorities. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the 2025 budget priorities.
A motion to approve, Supervisor Burning, Supervisor Shirley, second. Supervisor Burning, would you like to describe?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So the budget priorities were discussed in the administration committee. There was a little bit of back and forth, but I'll really turn it over to Ken to go over the details of what we laid out, and I believe we had unanimous consent on that. So, Administrator Witt.
Yeah, on page 90 of the packet is the resolution with the budget priorities. So really, just briefly to spell them out, this is the directions that I will be giving to county staff to submit their budgets. The first thing that we'll look at is increasing our sales tax projection to get closer to the state estimates, rather than keeping maybe as large of a gap as we've had in the past. So that'll help with this year's budget. Number two, then, we're going to be looking at health insurance in the 5 to 10% range. I think our goal is to keep that on the lower end of that range, but knowing it will be within that range. Third, then, will be compensation for employees, either a 1% COLA or a 2% step increase, really depending on what we can afford at that point, largely dependent on what happens with health insurance. Number D, then, is the inflationary expenses, and that's, maybe a little bit out of place because for some things, there's just no negotiation on it. I mean, when Microsoft says this is the fee for your Microsoft license, that's not negotiable. That's what it's going to be. So either we get rid of all the computers, John didn't jump up, so he's not listening, or, you pay that fee. So, inflationary expenses are just kind of something that we end up absorbing. And then carefully look at any other position requests. This is outside of the ones that were authorized through the referendum, but take a look at other positions that are still being requested and prioritize and recommend to you any of those that we can fit into the budget. So that's how I'm going to go through the budget to get to a balanced budget. So.
Discussion, questions, Supervisor Burning?
So I also just want to add to it that we looked at this and the question was brought up, why A through E instead of 1 through 5? And we're doing that because in the years past, it seems that 1 is like more priority than 3, but then 3 is just as much of a priority as 1, and so we didn't want to do it in that manner. We wanted it to be, these are our top 5, make it a priority A through E. So just in case you're wondering why we didn't use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's why.
Supervisor Rice?
I want to make sure I understand this before I vote on it. So if I understand, and my emphasis is on A, consider increasing sales tax projected revenues closer to the state estimates. Here there is a pattern. Most of you should have gotten an email with the projected, and in the backwards look, historical average. And it looks pretty consistent that the state estimates higher tax revenue than what we've done in our annual budget. So by moving that up, that to me tells me that we're assuming stronger sales tax revenue than what we have in the past. That would be money I would presume in our budget that we would plan to spend. That's correct, right? So I look at the budget overall, little controllables on our revenue. We get happy surprises sometimes and not so happy other times. But in our budget for this year, what we have is, 45% of it is the tax revenue from property taxes, and then the remaining, or 11+% is the line item that includes sales tax. And that's the biggest item there. So only 45% of revenue is what we're talking about. I look at this and I say, if we move that lever to assume a higher rate, that seems like aggressive budgeting to me, or at least slightly aggressive. I would rather see us deal with a happy windfall that we could use for whatever Ken brings to us as a board, or to pay down other debt service, rather than to plan for a higher number and then maybe have an unhappy surprise at the tail end. So that's my logic, and I'm certainly open to have someone challenge it because I'm not always right.
Other discussion, comments? Supervisor Rotino?
I think you all know this is a item I brought up not too long ago. My question is, on item A, how do you propose to bringing that number closer? Because, it's obviously closer to the state estimates to cover some of the projected expense, but not have $2 or $3 million left over in a pot at the end of the year to just spend. Because I call this the automatic increase in the budget every year. This is the way I look at it. And if it was $2, I think we'd be good. That means we really targeted what we really are spending and what we're bringing in. I guess my question is, how are you planning on targeting that closer?
Yeah, you have to look at what data I have when I have to make that decision. So July, August, September, the budget is set. Really, in September, the budget's finalized, it's done. I presented at Committee of the Whole a balanced budget to you. So at that point in the year, I don't know what 2024 information is. We're only halfway into the year. So I don't know 24. What I know is what we received in 2023. So that's the best data that I have available. So what I was doing is I was staying a little bit below that. The state estimate would come in above that, and that would be roughly $1 million. It was really probably closer to 1.2 when I look back at some of the data. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go right to what last year's sales tax collection was, and I'm going to budget right up to that amount. So that amount last year collected was $12.6 million. So that'll be a $1 million increase in sales tax. Now, I still think that in September, when I receive the state estimate, it'll be more than $12.6 million. So that'll be our cushion then. So there's still some cushion, but not as much as we had before. But that was how I was planning on doing it.
Other questions, comments? Okay, seeing none, we're ready. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, Supervisor Cowner, I'm sorry I missed you.
So if we're going to cut this back down an additional $1 million, in the past, we've used that money that was put into the KIP. Now, if we're going to take all the money out of the KIP, how are we projecting that we're going to do our maintenance and things that have to be done in the future? Are we just do those have to be then, do we have to create new budget items in our budget so that we can ensure that we perform maintenance, or are we going to just push the maintenance back if we don't have the funds, which that's kind of the way it was right now to begin with, was that the money that we were reserving that was going towards KIP, if we had a bad year, those projects were going to be cut.
Yeah, so I think the impact of that is, we're happily surprised every year when we have excess funds and we're able to take that excess money and spend it on a capital project and avoid issuing debt. So what's going to change is that when you're looking at the KIP, there'll be less cash available, so you're going to have to say, well, if we want to do this project, we're going to have to issue debt to do it. We should still have enough cash coming in that we're able to handle some of the routine items, probably some of the recurring items on the list, but some of the other building type items, you're going to end up having to issue debt in order to do. Whereas some of the small projects we were probably covering with cash.
Other questions, comments? Make sure you raise your hand so I can see it. Okay, seeing none, we're ready to vote on the motion, which is to approve the resolution establishing the 2025 budget priorities. Thank you. That motion is passes. Okay, we're going to move on to the second business item, a resolution disbanding the County Library Planning Committee. Do we have a motion? Motion by Supervisor Barkalow to approve the resolution, second by Supervisor Burning. Supervisor Burning?
Yeah, so we brought this to admin committee. The library board or the library planning committee, it requires to dissolve it, or it could be appointed by the chair, but then to dissolve it, it has to come through committee and then to the county board and an approval to dissolve it. The reason we did this, one, it wasn't really meeting that regularly. The admin committee can take pretty much the same thing that's been going on and receive input from the librarians at the same time from around the library directors from around the county, and put together a plan that's within state statute. So we just figured, why have county resources when it's not meeting anyway, and just one more thing that hangs out there. So we put this forth to dissolve it.
Discussion, questions? Supervisor Counter.
One thing that we did have in discussion over this too was because there was concerns, but if there's a need in the future that we can reverse this, we can recreate the board if it's necessary. It's just the way the current situation is, it just what made more sense to go about it this direction.
Other discussion, questions? Okay, seeing none, we're ready to vote on the motion to approve the resolution disbanding the County Library Planning Committee. And that passes unanimously. Thank you. Move on to our third business item, a resolution urging legislators to approve immediate funding for inpatient psychiatric care in western Wisconsin. Do we have a motion? Supervisor Barkalow, motion to approve the resolution, and Supervisor Carlson, a second. Who would like to address this? Give a little background. Supervisor Telejohn, can I call on you, please?
Yeah, we desperately need a mental health facility in this region. And this is trying to put more focus on it and keep focused on it to the legislatures. And I'd like to see this passed. I'd like to see it circulated to fellow counties and passed on to the Wisconsin County Association for a resolution.
Discussion. Supervisor Counter.
Again, I strongly support this resolution. There's a lot of real important things that are involved with this resolution, dealing with currently we're bringing a lot of people down to the other end of the state when we're having mental crisis issues. And by doing this, if we can entice or be able to get help from the state to create a more regional-based facility, it makes it not only more cost-effective for the county for transportation, all the things that we've been talking about in the last few meetings, but it also opens the door that when you have a more local facility, it allows a better background where you can have family and friends be able to participate with the issues that come about for these mental health patients and things that they can't do when these mental health patients are on the other side of the state. So localizing this can help so that we can mediate or remediate issues that are coming about from these cases. And so this is real important to us. It's important to our region. This is being overlooked in a critical need. And it's not just St. Croix, it's the whole northwest region of the state. So having a more localized facility would be a great asset for us. And that's why, again, I strongly support this and hope that we can get action. Part of that's in this action is that we're not only looking for action, but we want them to take this at a fast pace. We don't want them to sit and deal with this over a long extended period. We need this concentration and to get this underway now. So, thank you.
Supervisor Van Summeren.
Thank you, Chair Long. I agree with this. We do need this, but my question is, do we have a plan for this? You know, if we're going to bring this to the state and it's on a sheet of paper, that's very nice. But if we bring it to the state with 2 sheets of paper, one says, this is how it would work. This is how we envision it working. This is why it should be in St. Croix County or in the western part of the state. So I don't know if we've been to that far with this, but I certainly think we should. I would encourage that we get that perhaps before we send this off. Thank you.
Supervisor Telejohn.
Maybe Bob Rohrt could address that question. We've discussed that before. I don't know if he's willing to come up, but we've talked about a plan.
Yeah, this has been an item that we've discussed with legislators for the last several years. And you remember a couple of years back, we attempted to open a withdrawal management center with grant money at Kitty Roads. It never got to that point because we didn't get the grant money from the state. But our intention was to look at a way in which we could help or support or provide urgent care for people with behavioral health needs in this region. With the closure of HSHS Hospital and L.E. Phillips, the detoxification center in that area, it created, this was last spring, it created a desert for inpatient psychiatric and detoxification services. So the legislature has done some of this work already where they've drafted or they passed a bill that released $10 million to DHS, the state DHS, to develop 3 regional crisis urgent care facilities, and prioritizing the western region of the state. Some of the lack of urgency here, or I shouldn't say it that way. There's a delay for the state to actually put that money out in a RFP because they have to write rule language, administrative rule language around this new level of care. And it could take, what I'm hearing, up to 1 to 2 years to do that. In the meantime, there isn't a local option for these kinds of services. So to my mind, excuse me, to my mind, this resolution is an emphasis or a sense of, provides a sense of urgency for doing something a little more quickly than a 1 to 2 year time frame. Does that help? But there is a plan. There's a loose structure for how these facilities would look and operate, but they have to draft specific rule language around it. So there's regulations that we would follow them, or somebody would follow in the Western region to actually operate a facility like this.
Supervisor Rotino?
Is there a plan in, maybe even in conception, to implement something in the interim? It sounded like you're counting on, and I agree with you, the state to step up to the plate. But $10 million, is there more money that you're talking about in that group that's going to be the 3 facilities? Because $10 million divided by 70 counties sure don't go very far.
You know, that's a good point, Supervisor. That's been our hesitation all along, is how do you sustain something like this if you start it? Otherwise, you end up starting it and then closing it down 2 years later if the grant money runs out. The other legislation that passed this past spring is, I think, tied to the sustainability of this particular effort through expanding Medicaid coverage for a service like this going forward. So the idea would be to have a sustainable Medicaid per diem rate for a facility like this that sustained it beyond 2 years or whatever the grant period would be. But that's a good point, and that's been my question all along, is what do we do after the grant money expires or that startup money expires? Or whoever starts something like this.
So then you're looking at this being a county adventure that we would support and use?
I would see it as a regional effort with other counties
having
a stake in this, not necessarily St. Croix County as being the only option.
Thank you.
Supervisor Telejohn.
I believe Pierce County has expressed a lot of interest in a regional facility already, so there's other counties that are very interested near us.
Supervisor Burning?
Just piggybacking on what JVS said, I'm sorry, Supervisor Van Summeren. Sorry, bro. I'm so sorry about that. Piggybacking on what Supervisor Van Summeren said, I think we should put some specific asks in here, especially if we're going to ask other counties to pass this. A couple of those I would like, and I'm not going to make an amendment right now because I got to think through what I want to make. I think one of them needs to be, and correct me if I'm wrong, it needs to be along the I-94 corridor and an intersection of another artery that's close to St. Croix County. So if we're leading the charge on this, we pay a lot of taxes in western Wisconsin down to Madison. We don't get a whole lot back at times. We want it close to us. And so I think that eastern part of the county, central part of the county, as long as it's within earshot of us, I think that's important. I think we should put that in here when we're making the request. We asked a few years back to change the revenue share from the sales tax that goes down to Madison. We weren't specific in our ask. We kind of said, change the formula. Well, the formula came back that we got lesser of a share than what other counties are getting. So what I'm saying is, I think we need to put some specifics in here just in the ask, just so we have it.
So are you suggesting an amendment, or
I am,
would
but
you
I got
like
to think through it. Okay, so let me think through it. Somebody got Jeopardy music? I'm thinking like 40 through 43, adding in there that we wanted along the 94 corridor, if not within St. Croix County, close to St. Croix County, and in an intersection with another artery. Is that acceptable to you? Like, is that okay, Bob? I mean, does that fit like what you would want, or is that asking too much? Well, I don't care about asking for too much, but what do you think?
Well, the legislature in their bill language indicated that the western region would be a priority for this $10 million. So it's not specific to us, certainly, that is in any particular building or anything. I think as long as there was a facility in this region, it's open to where that would be.
I mean, I guess if we're leading the charge on it, I don't want it ending up in like Clark County or Chippewa County. You know what I mean? Like, I want it close to us. So that's all I'm saying. So I'd like that language in there, if Corp Counsel wouldn't mind helping me. Translate burning for me, please. Like, help me out here.
And I think you said you wanted it located after line 43. So be it further resolved by the St. Croix County Board of Supervisors that the state consider a regional facility be built within St. Croix County or somewhere in the western region along the 94 corridor.
So there was a motion to amend. Do we need a sec? We do need a second for that. Supervisor Shirley? Okay, discussion on the amendment to the resolution. Supervisor Osnes?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You want to leave St. Croix County in there? You want a facility here, or do you want to leave it in the west central Wisconsin area? I think it should be one or the other, not both. If we can't get it built here, we got to make sure it's going to still be someplace in the west central part of the state.
I think I said where the I-94 corridor, right?
You know, St. Croix County is part of that, but
St. Croix County.
I did.
I think to get it started, we should leave it in the west central.
Supervisor Rotino?
I totally disagree for change most of the time with Supervisor Burning. I don't think we should demand anything. In the center of the western region would service everyone, and where's the facility at? How far away are we at with that to transport our mental patients? It's a gazillion. So it's what we said about $1,500, I think, for two officers to transport. So I don't think we should put any demand on where it goes. I think we need it. I agree with this 200% as far as the need, but I'm totally against. We want the state to do this and do it for the region. And so if it was smack dab in the middle of the region, I would be totally fine with that. I'm against the fact that we're going to demand anything on that. Let's get them to do it and guarantee some money, and then go forward.
Supervisor Hanson?
Right. I think what Supervisor Otino is saying, I agree with 100%. We're coming to the state. You're throwing the dice anyway. What I heard said at a legislative conference 2 years ago was a great deal of frustration on the part of Speaker Bosch that so many of these come to him and that they can't consider all of them because there's so many from the counties. So it would be best for us to be as humble as possible with our hat in our hands and give them options to fulfill the thing as broadly as possible. So statescraft is probably called for, humility is called for, and as broad a spectrum of solutions is the best course of action, and not make demands. So I would reject this amendment.
Supervisor Van Summeren?
I would agree with Supervisor Burning, and here's why. First of all, if no one else has asked, it doesn't hurt to ask. Second of all, I think this is where the greatest population is on this end of the county in this region, and it would only make sense to put it here. So I think that would be the thing to ask for. If no one else has asked yet, they're looking for a place. Maybe instead of asking, we should offer our county for this kind of a place, for this kind of a building.
Supervisor Shirley.
I also agree. I think the state already knows that the western region needs a facility like this, and nobody else is stepping up with a resolution like this that is directing or asking the state to move it at a faster pace. And if we're the ones that are going to do it, let's go ahead and ask for it. They already know that there's something going in western region. So if it doesn't, if all they can say is no to St. Croix County, and it'll go in the western region somewhere. So why not ask for it?
Other questions, Supervisor Counter?
Well, one thing to consider too on the demographics issue of it is potentially a whereas with this, but we are yet one of the fastest growing, if not the fastest growing county in the state population wise. And if I understood right, we're projected to pass Eau Claire County by, what was it, 2030?
Probably closer to 2040, but yeah.
2040.
Somewhere in between those two censuses.
Okay, so looking at that, we're going to continue to see a lot of growth coming in from the Twin Cities metropolitan area. That's going to keep pushing out, and these needs are more based, when you look at it, the big picture, they're more based on a percentage of population that have the need. So the more we grow, the more our need is going to increase. So we have to keep that in mind. So if we're going to look at this growth factor for the future, the closeness is a impact for us. So consideration anyway.
Supervisor Osnes.
I don't know if this is, I guess the question would be to Bob. With the two hospitals being closed right now, where are our folks going, or where do we have to get them to get the help that they need with those hospitals being closed?
Well, it depends on what that person needs, right? So if it was an emergency detention or psychiatric care, they'd probably go to Winnebago or a emergency department and then Winnebago. If it was detoxification, say, they'd probably go to an emergency department and then be released as soon as they were stable, medically stable. So that's currently, I mean, we have a project with Western Wisconsin Health that we started with ARPA funding. It's an outpatient withdrawal management service that's been picking up in terms of referrals because of the closure of the hospitals in Eau Claire probably. And they're seeing more patients for ambulatory or outpatient withdrawal management. That funding ends at the end of 24, right? So we're making other efforts to prevent people from going to high-cost placements, especially because it's better often for them to stay in their own community and get care, but it's not always possible. So right now they go to Winnebago or Amory or emergency departments, depending on their situations are different. So, yeah.
And if Winnebago goes full, my next question is, my understanding is that we've had to take some folks over to La Crosse. Is that correct?
Probably I'd have to ask Shar Lopez would know better the specifics of that. But
Other discussion on the amendment. Okay, so the motion on the floor is to amend the resolution. Can we ask Corporation Counsel to review the amendment, please?
Yes, so what I have written is after line 43, another paragraph, Be it further resolved by the St. Croix County Board of Supervisors that the state of Wisconsin consider building a regional inpatient psychiatric facility in St. Croix County or somewhere in the western region along the I-94 corridor.
That is the amendment, and that is what we're voting on right now. So absent any further discussion, we're ready to vote. And that amendment passes. Now we're back to the original resolution as amended. And so the motion on the floor is to approve the resolution as amended. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we're ready to vote on the motion to approve the resolution. Oh. And that passes unanimously. Thank you.
Bob? Mr. Chairman? Sorry. So, how will this be assured that it's going to go to WCA and to the other counties? Is that automatic, or do we have to?
Yeah, the county clerk will take care of that. I think that's actually in the resolution.
Okay, we're at our last business item, ordinance to repeal and recreate Chapter 12, Sanitary Ordinance of the St. Croix County Code of Ordinances. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve ordinance to repeal and recreate Chapter 12, Sanitary Ordinance of the St. Croix County Code of Ordinances.
Motion to approve by Supervisor Burning, second by Supervisor Shirley. Would someone like to take this and provide a little discussion? Oh, Supervisor Anderson.
Yeah, so basically the major change in this is allowing people to have holding tanks as a sanitary solution, where otherwise they would only be able to have something like an outhouse or a composting toilet or something like that. Holding tanks are only allowed to be temporary before, and so if this goes through, you'd be allowed to have a holding tank as long as it's 2,000 gallons or bigger on a property that you otherwise wouldn't be able to have like a central holding tank on. It doesn't necessarily require that actually, but that would be probably the majority use of it. So yeah, lots that you couldn't have mounds or traditional drainage systems on. You'd be able to at least have a holding tank.
Discussion. Questions? Okay, wait.
Yeah,
okay, Supervisor Otino, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to ask a question on that. Is if you have a holding tank, is there a requirement on X amount of time for pumping that tank out?
Yeah, Jason, can you answer the specifics of that question? I remember there being something related to that, Supervisor Ortino, but I'll let Jason.
Good evening. So on a holding tank, it is required by the state plumbing code that they have to have an alarm installed in the tank, and that alarm will give you the time and that to call somebody to come out and service. So usually that's at like 80% of the tank volume.
Supervisor Rambert.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So what I envision in this, when I read this, especially I appreciate the summary of what the changes are. And in it, what I see is what I feel good about is that it gives our taxpayers and our public flexibility and options that they didn't have before. And it's just more of a thank you from me. Thank you.
Supervisor Van Summeren.
Thank you, Chair Long. I think the other thing that goes along with this is, you know, we talk about clean water in St. Croix County. We're very, very concerned about clean water. And we also know that some places, even though a mound system is supposed to work, it doesn't always work, and there are old systems that may not be functional either. But once there's a holding tank and perhaps a plan for pumping it, all of that effluent nowadays, today, is taken to a municipal sewer system where it's disposed of properly. Now we don't have to worry about sewage leaching into the water because it's taken care of properly and it's cared for the way it should be. So as we continue to grow as a county, I can see this could be a big thing, and in fact, this might one day be not only a recommendation, but what has to be done to build, especially in certain places, because then we rest assured that it's cared for. Thank you.
Other comments, questions? Okay, seeing none, the motion is to approve the resolution repealing and recreating Chapter 12 Sanitary Ordinance of the St. Croix County Code of Ordinances. Thank you. That's approved unanimously. Okay, that wraps up our business items, and we're going to move on to our sole annual report for Health and Human Services. Bob, you're on.
Hi again. I'm going to keep my comments relatively brief. I know this is a long report, but we do a lot, right? And part of why, well, we have to capture everything that we do so that you can see it, but part of the reason that we put so much effort into these reports, I hope you've had a chance to read it, is because the staff see this as an opportunity to show you what they do and to show you some of the challenges and some of the achievements that they have realized in the previous year. So we really put a lot of time and effort into creating this so that it's as readable as it can be and still provide you with enough data and information to show you what it is we do, where the pain points are, and where we're trying to make changes to address some of the most critical problems that we face as a health department. The Public Health Division is required to produce an annual report as a part of state statute. So I added that report in its entirety onto the end of the rest of the divisions here. So it's really well done, and I didn't want to try and pick it apart, so I just left that in its entirety. I just want to, as I said, make a few comments. I want to let you know that I've forced, no, I didn't force, I brought some of the division administrators and staff with me tonight, so if you have specific questions about anything within this report, if I can't answer them, they're here to do that and are happy to do that. They're happy to do that. Let me just, again, I'll try and be brief. I just wanted to point out a few things for 2023 that I thought were important. In 2023, we created a strategic plan for 23 through 26 for the HHS department. It was based on the county's strategic plan, so we took priorities or goals that the county strategic plan prioritized and objectives under that, and we expanded upon that within our own department so that we focused on things that were relevant to what we did as a department. That strategic plan is also used in our management meetings to guide our decision-making and to structure our agendas for management meetings. So we use the strategic directives that were outlined in that plan for all of our management meetings, and it helps us stay focused and make sure that we're addressing the things that we set out to do. There was also I just want to point out real quick, there was some missing data when I presented this report to the HHS committee for the Economic Support Division. It was, I'll see if I can find the page here in case you can go to it. It was on page 31 of the report, not the packet. But it was, the pie chart that I'm referring to has has benefit expenditures, that is, people that were eligible for health benefits or food share benefits. And it has a chart for how those dollars were spent within St. Croix County. So people that were eligible for those benefits spent those dollars in St. Croix County. And what we had been missing was we didn't have the data for the healthcare expenditures in St. Croix County for those benefits that people receive. There it is, that pie chart toward the bottom there. And last time when I talked to you, the HHS committee, I said there was about $1 million of medical care, about $1 million spent in the communities. I was actually off by about $100 million. So, so it's actually $107 million of healthcare benefits that people receive that they spent on healthcare services in St. Croix County. And that wasn't in the HHS report, so I wanted to point that out. We saw service demands increase in pretty much every area of HHS. I think what's already probably obvious is the most costly service increases were in the area of purchased services for things like, we already discussed, like emergency detentions and trips to Winnebago, or children in out-of-home placements. And we saw really a big spike in kids in out-of-home placements and in people going to Winnebago. So we were we spent about $1 million in people going in purchase services for people placed in Winnebago in 2023. And we recouped some of that through billing insurance, private insurance. We don't get too much back. So it was actually about a $700,000 hit to tax levy for that expense. And we're transporting people, in not an ideal way, far away to get the help they need. And of course, children in out-of-home placement that was a big concern. We appreciate the extra staff that we got this year that were approved last year for the budget this year to help. And our existing staff are always, it amazes me, they're always up for the challenge of finding ways and being creative about finding ways to be more effective at preventive care and upstream kinds of solutions to prevent people from having to go to these high cost and often poor outcome environments. So I really credit, when you read through this and you see the challenges that each division faces, I really credit the staff that we have for their optimism, for their creativity, and for reaching across divisions to find solutions for people that sometimes walk through our doors with everything wrong. They don't know where to turn, and we're often the safety net for them. And our management team, our supervisors, our staff in general, try and find ways to resolve very complicated, very oftentimes traumatic kinds of situations, and do it in a very, I think, compassionate way every day. It's really amazing. I can't say enough about our staff. But I do want to give you an opportunity. I didn't obviously touch on a lot of things, but I do want to give you the opportunity to ask questions of me or any of my managers if you have specific questions about anything in this report. So I'll leave it at that for now.
Supervisor Telejohn?
Well, it isn't so much a question, but Health and Human Services is so much about helping people and community. And I really appreciate this report, showing all the people that are doing the work in the report. And it's my hat's off and commend all your employees. What a wonderful report.
Supervisor Rice?
I'd just like to offer a comment and a compliment. One of the things that I've been doing for the last year and a half is I'm a CASA volunteer for one of the families that's listed here for 3 of the kids that are in out-of-home placement. And I'm in awe of the work that's being done by your team to help these 3 kids deal with trauma and other things that have been going on for a long, long time. They're getting family-centered treatment and therapy that's really helping the parents to learn how to parent these three kids. So I'm confident or hopeful that there'll be family reunification. It would not have happened. It would not happen without your help. So thank you.
Supervisor Carlson?
Thank you. My question is about the Kitty Rhodes Memorial Care Center, because in '22 there was a zero budget. This year there's a zero budget, but there was $2 million in the budget revenue for that, and then the expenses went from 22 actual to 16,000 and some, and the budget for this year is 55, and the budget for 23 was $1 million for the expenses. How close was that to what actually happened? And I'm just a little bit confused what's going on with Kitty Rhodes right now. I understand it's a staffing issue, but if you'd speak to that a little bit.
I'll speak to the $1 million number first. That was because we budgeted for positions for Kitty Rhodes, anticipating we could open it the following year. And we couldn't, so that was budgeted positions that we didn't use. And we took that out after we realized we didn't have to budget for those positions. Fear was we would lose them if we didn't budget for them. The other question was around what are we doing with Kitty Rhodes, or what's the situation with it? We haven't been able to open it for either dementia care or one of the other projects that we were trying to open. For dementia care, we can't open it at the present time because we can't recruit enough CNA positions to fill those needed FTEs that we would have to have for a 24/7 facility. Currently, it's improving a bit. In talking with Sandy, it's improving a bit in terms of recruitment for CNA positions to fill current vacancies at the healthcare campus. If we can continue that trend and fill some of those vacancies to a level where we feel confident we could hire additional FTEs to fill Kitty Road, or to staff Kitty Rhodes, then we could look at opening it for dementia care as it was originally intended. My hope is that we'll see a loosening of the labor market, so that we're a more less competitive labor market, so we can hire some of these CNAs to actually open it at least on a lower census level until we can staff up to a level where we can keep the full complement of people there. Yeah. It's been the expenses, the other expenses fluctuating. I would have to look and see exactly what they consist of. I'm assuming maintenance and utilities and things like that, but I don't have it in front of me, so I can't explain better than that.
Bob, I'd like to ask, since you courteously asked some of your department heads to join us today, could you please introduce them and have them stand so that we can make sure we can get a better idea of, we can interact with them.
So we'll start with Char Lopez as our Behavioral Health Division Administrator and Deputy Director. We got Kristen Newton, she's our ADRC Administrator. Tammy Wilson, Records Division Supervisor. Oh, Ellie, almost missed Ellie. She's brand spanking new as a Health Officer and Public Health Division Administrator. Also have Lori Diaby here, who's a Public Health Supervisor. You have to stand up. We got Sandy Hackenmuller here from the Healthcare Campus. She's the administrator there. And Rhonda Brown, who's with our Economic Support Division, who's had a fun year with the unwinding. Anybody else? Oh, there's Michelle. Michelle Lesch is our Children's Services Administrator. Is that everyone that's here? Oh, I didn't see you, James. James Tabbitt is a supervisor in our CCS division, our Comprehensive Community Services Division. Thanks for coming. All right.
Any other questions or comments for Bob?
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Happy birthday, and thank you very much for your comprehensive reports. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, are there any requests for future agenda items? Future agenda items? All right, we're going to move on to County Clerk's report.
I just do have one thing to say. I did hand out with everybody with your mail something that I got from Community Development that they asked me to pass out for the 2024 workshop on the water. So that it was given to you with your mail. And I think the sign-up sheet is floating around here somewhere for the conference. If somebody has that, they could just return it to me. Thank you.
That would be the annual WCA conference in September. Okay, a couple items. I don't know if you want to.
You can do the committee of the whole. I have one more then.
Yeah, the committee of the whole we're scheduling for Tuesday, July 23rd at 8:30 in the morning, and that topic will be our KIP, our Capital Improvement Plan. I'm sure we all look forward to that. And also just a reminder, I don't have all the specifics here, but I think we all got information on Saturday at 2 o'clock on the county fairground. There will be a dedication for Deputy Lysing. I'm not quite sure what county road is involved. I don't remember off the top of my head, but I believe there's also a street in Glenwood City that's part of that. So I would encourage you, if you can, work that in to attend that so we can show our respect for Deputy Lysing. Oh, wait a minute, there's one other thing. Supervisor I'm sorry. Supervisor Otino, you wanted to make a comment. Go ahead. Okay, and I think that was it. Okay.
Yep, I just wanted to give you a preview for the July County Board. I know everyone loves the voting system we have. We're going to do a training on the new system at the July meeting, so you'll get to use the voting equipment we have currently one more time. But at the end of the meeting, we'll play the video, we'll train you up, and then in August, our plan is, if all of you pass, we'll switch to the new system. So, yeah. So that's all. I just want at the end of the next meeting, there'll be a training session, so plan on that. It's not real long.
One more thing to look forward to. Okay, any other announcements? Supervisor Van Sumeren.
This weekend is the annual Windmill Days in Baldwin, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. You're all invited to the biggest little town in Wisconsin to have some fun together. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, we're adjourned, 6:17.